All right, T. I'm about to get us started. I think you can hear me. Oh, you can't hear me. Yep, you should be able to hear me okay. Good evening, everybody. We are getting started. Sorry, we are 5 minutes late in getting things going, as lovely holiday season would be. But I am so excited to have each and every one of you here with us as we get going. We are live on our YouTube page as we speak right now. We've got some amazing dynamic speakers that are going to be joining us tonight. If you could, let's go to that chat. Let's hit in where you are from, what city you're from, what city and state you're from. So please shout out your city and your hometown. As we always do, we're going to bring some brothers up live from the attendees section. I'm sharing some great names already. We got Ambrose Lane in there. We got Anthony Mitchell, Deshaun Freeman. Good to see you. Cornelius, glad to have you. James Haley, good to see you. Kenneth Riddick, Karan Kenner, good to see you, brother. Lenore Sherrard, Preston Jones, Roy Tatum, Stephen Spates, William McCray, and more. So happy to have everybody here tonight. Letting more and more brothers in. Really excited to see what we got going on. All right, who do we got? All right, yep, shouting everybody out in the chat. Well, it's been an interesting week. I know everybody can hear me, so I'm glad you all are here. Good to see Charles King from Little Rock. Everybody here. It has been a dynamic week that we've been facing. There are so many brothers around the country who are feeling stressed from what these recent Voting Rights Act, whatever side of the aisle you are on, and you know, as my pastor Dr. Howard John Wesley likes to say, can't tell you who to vote for, but I'll tell you how I'm voting for. While I am a card-carrying Democrat, I know this has been a tough week for Democrats, for me as a Democrat, I should say, and some of the things that I've seen come out of the party and some of the frustrations that I have. Um, and I think we can get into that a little bit tonight. I'm sure many of you who are voted Democrat for a while feel the same. Um, but I'm concerned. I spent the greater part of this weekend with my parents and my brother and my nieces and my sister-in-law and my family, my mom and my dad, just hanging out. My sister and my nephews and my brother-in-law couldn't make it down, but just being in community and family with them reminded me of what we're doing and what we're fighting for every single day, so that my nephews grow up and have a world, that my daughter and my nieces grow up and have a world that is better than the one that I had. Because the gift of two hardworking and amazing parents that really put in some work for me. And so I'm excited to see where this work can take us, and what we can do. As many as you know, the Voting Rights Act was gutted a couple of weeks ago, back on May 5th, from a lot of people's perspective, and what that meant in terms of changing of Section 2. Well, now you have to show cause and reason for someone's racial bias in determining their districts. So a lot of work that we're doing here at Win with Black Men on our C3 side. We just got a dynamic partnership at Winning with Black Men. I'm going to throw that link in the chat so many of you can go there and follow us. We're still building out that site, so please forgive me that it's not as great as we would like it to be. But we are building that out, a new partnership that we're going to be doing voter registration on the C3 side, and a team that we have that's building out there. We have our C4 Win with Black Men Civic Action Fund that is going to, and I'm sorry, I'm typing them so I can get the links in the chat for everybody. See, I'm going to put it here. If you see, we have some new voting tools on the page for everybody to kind of take a look at. The same with Win with Black Men Civic Action Fund on our C4 side. There's some amazing voting tools that we have up there for two new and unique and dynamic partnerships that we're going to be rolling out this week in our Tuesday resource newsletter. If you haven't had a chance, we want to make sure you visit winwithblackmen.org and sign up for the Tuesday newsletter. If you haven't had a chance, I'm going to throw it right here in the chat for you. I think I've got the most recent one up. If I didn't, that's on me. Nope. I think I still got to update that one for this week. A lot of things that we're working around with, but yeah. Yeah. Oh no, I think we highlighted brothers this past Tuesday who were running for office. We also have two amazing stories, the Black Han Solo and Artemis 2, that we wanted to shout out. A good man, a good brother who was up in space. Then we also took a story from the Shade Room about a group of young Black boys who ran to the home of their pastor. They felt scared and they felt that that was a safe space. And then it was all captured on a Ring camera. So we wanted to make sure not only we were being centered in the work, but we're also being centered in community and sharing with each and every one of you stories of community. Tonight, we've got some really dynamic things going on. Delano Squires, and I think I said that right, is joining us from the Heritage Foundation. He's done some unique work and some dynamic work, has a new book coming out talking about the Black family and fatherhood. I walked into Heritage last year looking over my shoulder, making sure it was okay, and we're laughing about this merely because of some of the branding that the building gets. But I found the conversation that took place about Black men and family to be a unique one. And again, we're not a monolith. So wanting to reach out to other brothers who are on tonight to hear his perspective. He's going to come up in a second. We've got Thomas Pierre representing a great organization Freddie, we've got a dynamic. Now, I don't believe in Project 2025. We're not pushing that. But I think it's also great that I am not pushing one specific ideology here. I want to make sure that brothers have a very round perspective so that they're making it. I'm not asking the president of Heritage to join us. I'm not asking the architects for Project 2025 to join us. I've asked a good brother who I know is a good family man to come on and speak about his specific work around Black families and talk about that, and then let you all decide what that means. Like, let's be honest. While I see the chat going off right now, has the DNC and others stood up for us in the past 3 or 4 weeks? I've heard 2 to 3 calls. I know the chairman did a call on Louisiana versus Calais, but I think there was 2 Zooms, but then that's been it. I watched a party release a post-mortem report and then try to blame the authors of the report, one being a Hispanic man that was listed, and I know of others who are people of color that worked on the report, and try to throw them under the bus. But I know the buck stops with me and my organization and work that I do. I can't blame others if things go wrong. I've watched a party take our votes for granted and only show up. So I'm not saying vote one way or vote another way. I just know I am very frustrated about the place where I've centered my vote since I've been 18 years old. And I know many of you are frustrated that we continue to watch a party show up in our churches in September and that we don't see them for another year and a half. Show up in our communities to go to a barbershop talk. While we do that, we show up in community regularly to do our barbershop talks, but only use it as a GOTV tool. I'm pissed. I am frustrated. I know many of you are. I am apoplectic for watching a party that does not speak to me on a consistent basis, that from November of 2024 to now, I have heard very little. I've heard all of the excuses, but I've heard very little of action. And there's grassroots things that many of us can do on a regular basis to do organizing. Now, this isn't a call about the leadership over there or anything else. I'm talking to you as a Black man who feels that unrepresented. And I know there are good people that work there. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the leadership that's driving this. And so I'm planting this flag of saying, like, hey, when are we going to wake up and say enough is enough? I don't think the other side is respecting our vote by cutting the Voting Rights Act and the Supreme Court justices that they have. So I definitely don't feel like going over there. So I've talked to Maurice, the executive director and president of Working Families Party. We've talked to others who are thinking about forming their own Black political party. I am very worried and frustrated about where this means for us coming on. We also have, as we do at the end of our calls, candidates coming on who are running for office. So we've got Everett West, who's in a runoff in Alabama, a Black man who's running for U.S. Senate. Charles Booker, who's running in Kentucky, just ran his primary and won. We're going to bring other statewide candidates. This isn't just about the federal. We're looking at attorney generals, secretary of states, Garland Gilchrist in Michigan, we're going to have on later on. We've got county executive races, Will Jawando in Maryland. We've got city council races for at large and others. And so we are trying to make sure judicial races that we want to make sure Black men who are logging on here really get the breadth of what it means to be a Black man in America. Last thing I'll say, and I'm going to bring Delano on, or in this segment, is I've heard a lot since our call in 2024 that brothers felt some type of way. At the time, I was not of a particular Greek organization, but that it seemed like an interest meeting for a Greek organization. I think, it was spur of the moment, not something planned. But I've said to others who critiqued it to say, I show up every day. When I walk out of my house, I'm Black. No one is checking me to understand whether or not I've got all of the credentials or whatever it may be, what car I drive, what's in my bank account. None of that's getting checked. I'm just a Black man in America. So I welcome and I want those of you that have joined tonight, if you know 5 brothers that you can text right now who may not be of a political party or persuasion, but want to hear this conversation and engage, let them know and come on. If you know somebody who may not have a college degree, may just have an associate's, may have an associate's, may have a high school diploma, but they are very much engaged in their community. We want them here. This is the space for them to come and be in community and civic engagement. We are welcoming any and everybody to be a part of this conversation. There is no test to be here outside of you being a Black man. We have determined here at Women Black Men that we are going to be working with and making sure we are endorsing and that we're uplifting and highlighting Black men who are running for office, federal races and statewide races, as much as we can. We're trying to figure out the state Senate and the state House or state Assembly, down to county council, county executive, and to municipal. But we're going to do our best to highlight as many Black men. We're only focused on Black men this year to make sure everybody knows Black men who are running for office. I'm going to run through a list. I'm going to bring up, though, a dynamic speech. Thank you, Freddie, for your recent comment. Mario, I see you. I'm going to get to that in just a second, what happened in Florida. I'm good to see our U.S. Senate candidate in Alabama, Everett West, is on. We're going to have him come up just a little bit, but I'm going to bring up Delano to spotlight him and join this conversation. You can already see the chat, man. You got brothers in here. You're on mute, but who are worried about what you're coming with. I want to preface this. This is not an endorsement of Heritage. This is not an endorsement of Project 2025. What I wanted to do, we were having a conversation around fatherhood. I reached out to a couple of brothers, but with a holiday weekend, we couldn't. And so I'm going to bring Delano back on. I'm saying that right?
No.
Delano.
Delano.
Like Delano. Delano. He's probably cringing as I'm doing it.
We good.
Delano back on to have a conversation. There's Joshua Dubois, who runs the Dad Games. And then I reached out to another brother who runs the Dad Gang. And their group, and want to have a conversation amongst the 4 of us of what fatherhood means. But you responded, and we built out a good rapport. Wanted to bring you up, brother, and just talk about your work. What does it mean in centering? And then we're going to go to the chat. And if you have a question for Delano, you can put it in the chat. This is your opportunity. This is a back and forth. I'm glad to see our numbers. So anybody who texted another brother to get on here, good to see you, Deshaun from Alabama. We welcome you. So Delano, tell us about yourself.
Sure.
What are you working on? And why did you go work at Heritage?
Sure. So a couple of things. One, again, my name is Delano Squires. I'm from New York originally. I've been in the DC area now 20 years. Husband of 1, father of 4. Prior to coming to Heritage, I've been at Heritage now almost 4 years. I worked 15 years in local government, DC government. I ran a digital divide program called Connect DC. So if anybody lived in the district from 2012 through 2022, might have seen Connect DC around. So we did a lot of work in low-income communities, trying to get people connected to broadband access. We ran classes in public housing. We had a mobile tech lab. We did free tech workshops and computer repair for residents in the district. And then the last year in the district government, I worked in the Office of Gun Violence Prevention. So obviously a different type of job, but still community facing. So, but during that entire time, I've been writing about marriage, family, race, culture, probably since 2010. First from a website called Black and Married with Kids. So if anybody's familiar with that from back in the day, then I wrote for the Root. I've written for the Griot. I've written for the Blaze. I've written for the Federalist. So I'm probably the only person in America who can say he's had both Joy Reid and Jason Whitlock as an editor. And I say that because I'm not at heart a partisan. I have political views that stem from my faith and my sort of my Christian background, but I'm not a hard partisan. And I grew up in New York, so most people I know are Democrats, and most of my family now is Democrats, and I voted for Democrats most of my life. But I started writing about the issues that I did because I realized that the types of um, uplift, equality, progress that we want in our community are impossible without addressing the most important institution, which is the institution of the family. And that's where I plant my flag. Nothing else is going to get us there. I do not believe it. I don't believe uplift can be outsourced, and I certainly don't think it can be outsourced to politicians. So I approach politics with skepticism of both political parties, and I genuinely mean that. So the work that I'm doing now at Heritage, I'm the director of our Center on Human Flourishing. So my research portfolio, and we cover issues of marriage, family, gender, life. My research portfolio is specifically on marriage and family structure and the connection between family structure and social outcomes. So again, a lot of my work is on that, and particularly on the Black family. And as you mentioned, Khalil, um, I had an event last year, September, on the 60th anniversary of the Moynihan Report. So the impact of that and how we move forward, like what a new movement to revive the Black family would look like. And I was honored that you came and sat on one of our panels, a really good panel. And now the most recent thing I'm working on is a new book called The Vanishing Black Family, where I assess how we got to this point and how we move forward. And when I say this point, let me say something because I'm sure many of the brothers on here tonight, would probably identify themselves sort of center left politics. Some would say that they're progressive. And one of the things that I know progressives talk about a lot are racial inequities. So let me give you one. In the District of Columbia, the nation's capital, Chocolate City, as many people know it, 77% of Black children are born to unmarried parents, and 93% of white children are born to married parents. That is a 70 percentage point gap. And I can tell you, because I worked in the government, in DC government, that in the city's racial equity plan, we look at all types of indicators: education, economics, health, housing. Not a single indicator deals with family structure. So, with a 70 percentage point gap, elected officials who tell you that if you vote them into office, that they can ensure that regardless of where kids start life, they'll all end up in the same place, are selling you something. So what I do in the book is to say, look, we need a national movement to revive marriage and restore marriage as the cornerstone of Black family life, point blank, period. And the purpose of that movement is to increase the number of children who have what I would argue is the ultimate privilege, which is to be raised in a loving, safe, secure household with a married mom and dad. And that's my work. That's my life work. I'm not selling anybody on any type of political platform. I'm not selling anybody any merch. I'm not selling myself as an influencer. Again, I'm married, so I'm not selling myself on the dating market. But I want every child, particularly every Black child, to have the privilege that many of the men on this call I'm sure of are able to give their children, which many, many, many millions of our kids do not have right now. Because to be born to and raised by married Black parents in this country today is the exception and not the norm. So that's the work that I do. That's the reason I do the work that I do. And to answer your last question, and then I'll stop. How did I get to Heritage? I'll say this. I would have loved to have worked at the National Urban League or the NAACP. But the organizations that claim to be pro-Black today oftentimes do not subscribe to values that align with my value system. And oftentimes they are far more interested in retaking the White House than they are rebuilding the Black family. So I am where I can express my views and my values, where I can write about the issues that I believe in from a perspective that's authentic. And until I move on, then that's what I'll do. So I'll stop there.
Look, we got some brothers in the chat. Freddie Harden, thank you for your comments. I appreciate them, brother. I do. We've got some Q&A that's coming in. And, you know, I know, because what I'm seeing from the Q&A and from the chat, we got Destin, who we promoted up. We're going to bring up to this conversation in just a second. Brothers are skeptical. We hear heritage, and it's why, you know, we had a mutual friend that connected us while I came to the conversation and brought what we do here, my ethos, what I fight for, to the table, but found the conversation not of the ilk of what I see of heritage. So, and there were a dynamic group of pastors and other brothers who were a part of the conversation, a couple of sisters. But I know the concern is, given what heritage stands for publicly, how do you do that work internally? And how does that dichotomy not struggle? How do you not struggle with that dichotomy?
Well, I guess I would have to understand what people mean by what heritage stands for publicly, right? So heritage is a conservative policy think tank. So if you want to put them on a spectrum, let's say you would have heritage at the far right, you have Center for American Progress at the far left, you have AEI and Brookings in between both of them, right? Now, conservatives, generally speaking, tend to favor smaller government. So someone may say, oh, wow, well, why would you want to close down the Department of Education? Well, then the response would be because education is not the responsibility of the federal government. And what the federal government does is, you know, make things harder for states and localities to educate their children in a way that makes sense for those voters. So some of the disputes are about the size and scope of government, and those are legitimate disputes. There are other things that I might say are more values based. So, for instance, Heritage is very much a pro-life organization. I know that there may be people, particularly who are on the center left, who are personally pro-life, and who may be solidly pro-life and against abortion. But the party that they tend to support is not. So like everyone has to sort of deal with some of these distinctions. But again, the things that I believe in, right? When I talk about how I define marriage, when I talk about every person being made in the image of God, you know, with inherent dignity and worth. When I talk about the importance of the family, when I talk about the importance of education and education being both equal parts scholarship and discipleship, parents having the say over where their children go to school, which means that I'm very much in favor of school choice. There's just certain things that, you know, other organizations that purport to be pro-Black, when I look under the hood, I don't see that. And some people, I'll say this just as an anecdote. Some people say, "Oh man, you went to Heritage and you know, that's how you became conservative." And again, these are not even labels that I use. I'm gonna tell y'all sort of how I got to this point. And I'm gonna say two things about go out. I'm on a call. Go. I'm gonna say two things about President Obama. One, President Obama is probably the last national Democrat that I could think of who regularly talked about the connection between marriage, between family structure and social outcomes. He did that consistently, and I consistently give him credit for that. I wrote a piece for Institute for Family Studies called "The Conservative Case for More Pro-Marriage Democrats." I wrote about him in my book. I gave him credit for that. The second thing is I remember when he won election, and right around in 2008, he was asked whether his girls would go to DC public schools. He said no, it wasn't the right choice for him, and I got that, and that would have been a logistical nightmare for parents. But one of the first things that he did when he got into office was to try to cut the DC Opportunity Scholarship, which is the only federally funded voucher program in the country, a program that serves almost exclusively low-income Black families. So at a certain point, I realized that there were people in Southeast DC and Anacostia and Congress Heights who were happy to vote for the first Black president, not knowing that one of his first moves, per the folks, his supporters at the National Education at the NEA, was to cut the scholarship program that they were using to send their kids from Southeast to Upper Northwest to go to school. So for me, look, go downstairs. Go downstairs.
Hey, man, my daughter joins all the time, so it's all good, bro.
Look, Khalil, I set them up. I put on the movie. I gave them popcorn. I gave them water. Now they come up here. They talking about they want chips. Go back downstairs. I'll come. No, go back downstairs. I'll come. But so for me that was eye opening, and what it told me is that there were people, there are politicians, and I'm not saying this is exclusive to Democrats, because Black Republicans do this as well, who will use their race and their experiences, and sometimes they will use disparities that really reflect the masses, and they will say, vote for me because I look like you and I have a similar experience to you. And then they will push for policies that don't serve the masses but benefit the classes. Because if I can't use a voucher for $10,000, but you send your kids to Sidwell for 42K a year, then I want to know, why is school choice only good for those who have wealth? So those are the things that really sort of move me out of this completely partisan frame. So I give credit where credit is due, and I'm critical where it's warranted. But again, I just want to reiterate my main point, which is the most important institution is the family, and particularly as Black men, I believe that we have a responsibility, to the extent that this reconstruction work is going to take place. It is going to have to start with us. So that's really why I'm here. That's the message that I promote. I only sort of delve into some of the more partisan political stuff to the extent that it intersects with my work. And what I can see is that there are a lot of people who talk a good game about supporting Black men, but I don't see that reflected in some of the things that they advocate for. And I'm not interested in being anybody's mule when it comes to politics. So you can't tell me vote like a Black woman, lead follow Black women, and all this other stuff. And then when it's time to get a vote, say, oh, now we're concerned about Black men. Then that's why I want Black men to be concerned first and foremost about what is going on in their home, not about who's in the White House. That's my personal perspective. People don't have to share that, but I'm putting my cards on the table.
Let me go to a couple questions. I'm going to bring up Destin.
Sure.
And then I know we got a couple of Senate candidates on who may not necessarily, if they want to engage, great too. But if they want to talk about their campaign, happy for them to just do that.
Sure.
I got a really good, strong supporter of women, Black men, Freddie Harden, who is very frustrated. Maybe not frustrated. Let me not speak for him, but he is voicing his displeasure with Heritage. So
Okay.
what policies does Heritage Foundation push that benefits us as Black men, as a Black community? Because from his perspective, I'm reading an earlier comment, trying to scroll back up to it, the Heritage Foundation is a Confederate racist group, period. So how would you answer that in terms of what policies they position? I'm going to pull up Destin in just a second.
So I tend to think about three things in particular. One, again, I think about the family. I think about education. I think about public safety. And as I said, I cut my teeth in local government, right? My last year was in the Office of Gun Violence Prevention. And every morning, the calls were all the same. Victim and perpetrator, both the same. Young Black man, over and over and over and over and over again. And at a certain point, we have to address these things. So when it comes to public safety, the Heritage Foundation's position is that crime should be our laws should be enforced. Violent crime should be taken seriously. And to anyone who says that there's disproportionate incarceration rates, sure, if what you talk, like, there was a time where people would say, oh, mass incarceration is being driven by low-level nonviolent drug crime. That is not true and has not been true, certainly in any of our lifetimes. The majority of offenders, particularly in state prison, which has by far the largest part of the prison pie, are there for violent crimes. And we tend to be, unfortunately, both disproportionately perpetrator, but certainly disproportionately victim. So anyone who's selling you, policies that say, oh no, we shouldn't enforce our laws, and that we have over policing. Again, I worked in communities where the residents, now these were the mothers and the grandmothers, were calling for more police on the ground, which was totally distinct from what the activists were saying, which is to say, no, we want to abolish or defund or whatever the the sort of fad was at the particular time. So one, I believe in strong public safety because I want all of our children to be able to go out and play, you know, outside, play in the playground without somebody shooting it up, with reckless abandon. Two, I mentioned education. Heritage is very much pro school choice, wants to put the power of education in the hands of parents, not in the hands of bureaucrats. Again, there are schools, not just in DC and cities all across the country, where fewer than 5% or less than 5% of students are doing math and reading at grade level. And whenever parents, typically Black parents, say, we want more choice, we want charters, depending on where you are, we may want vouchers, but we want magnet schools, we want something other than the traditional public school. Here comes some politician, right? Oftentimes Black, always Democrat, telling you, no, you can't do that because the system that they call racist is the system that they want to uphold. Because the minute you say you ask for choice, they say, well, if we give you choice, then you're going to leave these bad schools and you're going to destroy the system. Now, mind you, they would never send their child to a school where only 1% of the kids can read at grade level, guaranteed. And if anybody would like to challenge them on that, you ain't asking for no policy, Khalil, but I give one for free. Wherever you are, push the elected officials to pass a law that says if they restrict school choice, whatever form that takes in your particular state or city, they should be required, anyone who votes against it should be required to send their child to the lowest performing school in the district. I think that's fair. If you consign my child,
no, keep going. Sorry, keep going.
No, I was gonna say if you don't consign my child to the school, then your child should have to go there, and not just when they're doing some service project. And then the last thing, as I said, is on family, and that by far is that's my area of expertise and by far the most important thing for me. And again, we hold to a traditional, or some would say biblical definition of family. I'm talking about one man, one woman for one lifetime, raising their children in a loving, safe, secure household. So that's what we advocate for. And those are policies, honestly, that when you have safe neighborhoods, quality schools, and you have strong families, you can afford to have smaller government, right? It actually shrinks the influence that government has over your life. When you don't have those things, then the government tends to grow and expand, and then it has its hands in every part of your life, telling you where you can go, what you can do, where you can send your kids to school, telling you, no, actually, you don't need a man in the home because we have programs that will provide fun programs for called Strong Families, Strong Futures that give you universal basic income, but have no interest in the relationship that you have with the father of your children. So yeah, people, my views weren't necessarily called conservative back in the day, but now they are, and that's fine. I mean, again, I'm not into the labels, but I don't shrink back from the things that I believe in, and let me this will be the last one I'm gonna land my plane, because when I look at the modern Democratic Party, and again, I grew up in New York, and being a Democrat in 1994 meant something different, in my opinion, than today. I see a party that has three really, really high priorities. One is what they would call reproductive justice, abortion rights, abortion care. Two is anything having to do with LGBT rights. And a distant third, I would say, is climate change. And again, I talked about the disparity in family structure. Nationally, about 40% of aborted babies are Black. In the South, it's about 69% in Georgia, 64% in Alabama, 82% in Mississippi. Yet the organizations that claim to be pro-Black, the ones who would look at where I work and castigate me and say, how are you going to work for people who are against Black folks, have no problem with destroying future Black children. So yeah, so I'm willing to stand in my square on what I believe in, because you can't preach revolutionary politics to me when you're killing off a third of your future soldiers. That's not happening.
So I'm gonna break in right there. We've got Destin
For sure.
Williams who's coming up from the chat. I want to
For sure.
engage others. After this segment, everybody, we're going to go to Thomas Pierre, and then we're going to hear from some of U.S. Senate candidates. But I was typing right in the chat right now. Many of you come on this call every Sunday, and it's the same old rhetoric that, hey, I need you to vote. We're registering. What I wanted to do tonight on Memorial Day weekend, I wanted to bring on a brother who is doing work. Now, we all got to agree. Delano knows that sometimes I don't agree with many of what he's saying, but I'm watching this chat and I'm seeing that some do. Now, if we take away the framework of where he works and we listen to what he has to say, and I want to debate on policy and on issues. Thomas, I know is on here, loves the work that we do at Women Black Men, and is having a very philosophically based debate right now. I want brothers to come here and whether it's learn, disagree, grow. I want to make sure, because everybody's beating me up in the chat, I don't forget. Eddie Rayton asked me to make sure we ask, so you got to come back to Delano. How are you treated at the Heritage Foundation? Do you feel like you're a token while you're there? I'm not calling you on. This is his question.
No, I got you.
Okay. Tomas, I'm going to come over to your questions in the chat, but I want to make sure we give time to hear from Destin. Destin, how you joined in? I saw you early in the chat. What are you feeling right now? Come off mute, share with us so that we can get involved in this conversation. Roosevelt, thank you. I'm glad that you're enjoying this.
Can y'all hear me well?
Yeah, we got you, brother.
Okay. First, I just want to say I appreciate the organization and what y'all doing. So shouts out to y'all. Definitely wanted to vocalize that before anything. I guess my first question and I want to make sure I'm pronouncing your name right. Is Delano? Delano?
Delano.
I made the mistake early. That's all me.
Yeah, I just want to be
It's all good. No, you got it. You got it.
I guess my first question, I mean, I hear you and I hear what you're trying to do and where your values are. And I'm just curious as to, as a man, I can hear and I think everyone can see where you're coming from. But I guess I can't separate the Black aspect as well, where I'm not sure. I appreciate what you're trying to do, but aligning with Heritage Foundation rather than maybe another avenue. I'm just curious as to what about Heritage made it an easier process, or why make that choice rather than a separate choice, and how are you able to, I guess, differentiate or kind of separate your mission from, basically what Heritage Foundation is putting the Black community in right now, and in the situation that a lot of people feel like they're in right now.
Yeah, I appreciate the question. And I think you used the operative word towards the end when you talk about like how people feel right now. And there's reality, there's perception, right? So I was at Hampton last year, their conference on the Black family. They've been doing it every year since like 1982. I gave my talk on the Black family. Some first question was like, how can you come to Hampton when Heritage Foundation wants to get rid of HBCUs? And I was like, where is that even coming from? That was in Project 2025. No, it wasn't. It wasn't. It's not in there. It's nothing about getting rid of HBCUs. So it like part of it is the perception. But let me answer your question directly, right? You asked me how could I work at Heritage? So in the beginning of my book, I sort of lay out my thesis, and then I give a little bit of personal background, right? I am a Christian, a husband, and a father, in that order and before anything else. I'm also a Black man who deeply respects history, tradition, and the leadership of previous Black leaders and Black historical figures. I can learn from Du Bois the same way I can learn from Washington, right? And what I can tell you is that the value system that I hold, right, is not one that would be respected at the institutions that we consider pro-Black. I could not write a book or a report arguing for the revival of the Black family, talking solely about men and women coming together and starting families. So it's just Black men talking today. I'm a level with you. I could not write that report. You could not show up to one of their events and articulate if this is I'm not saying this is your perspective, but let's say you were me. I couldn't show up and articulate what I believe to be biblical truth about the nature of men and women, right? That they're only two sexes and change and switching is not allowed. I couldn't show up and say that at a Democratic event. I couldn't say that at their convention. Even as a pastor, I couldn't say that. Now, they would want me there as a pastor to lend their policy agenda moral authority. They want to borrow my moral authority, particularly if I'm older and I went through the civil rights movement. But for me to articulate biblical truth is not allowed. So what I'm saying is, I would have loved to do the work that I'm doing at the National Urban League. And in fact, I've talked to, one or two people there, and I've talked to people at the Greater Washington Urban League who are doing work with Black fathers. And I'm willing to work with people even when we disagree. I've met with the DC City Council 3 times since December. I'm about to send them a model bill on establishing a commission on racial equity and family structure in the district that would assess the connection between the two and make recommendations to the council and the mayor about how to revive a culture of marriage and strong families in the nation's capital. Right? That's actual policy. That's what I'm about to send to them by the end of next week. So yes.
Frame your question just a little bit because I want to make sure we can get Destin and you can go back and forth.
Yeah. So that's it. I hope I answered. So what I'm saying is, I feel a lot of tension with pro-Black organizations when it comes to my values. And Khalil, let me bake in the answer to the question you asked me. I don't feel like a token at Heritage at all, actually. And I'm treated with respect by my colleagues. My work speaks for itself. I've been writing and researching for a long time, so I don't feel any of that, right? But I do notice that there are not a lot of Black folks there, and part of it is because anytime a Black person says that they are slightly right of Barack Obama circa 2008, they can expect to be criticized. So there's a certain social pressure that incentivizes not expressing these types of values, right? So there's at a certain point we just have to deal with that. But yeah, it's more so of a values thing, and I'm certainly open to exploring other options, and maybe, Lord willing, down the line I'll start my own organization dedicated solely to rebuilding the Black family. But for now, I can do work here that I couldn't do at the NAACP.
I'm watching the chat. I'm seeing everybody. Some are getting frustrated. Some are loving the conversation. Look, brothers, if you're questioning Win with Black men, cool. I'll take that any day, every day. The goal here tonight was to bring someone on that I don't think many of us naturally are inclined to agree with. But what I've done is, and I think someone said it earlier, if I am only going to stay in my one house, I guess I said at the beginning, I vote Democrat, but I am massively pissed. I think somebody mentioned it earlier on the postmortem report. Showing up in my communities, I've seen it time and time again. Democrats showing up in our communities to show up in my church. I go to Alfred Street just during GOTV. Don't come back a year later. Don't show up at Easter. Don't show up at Christmas. Now, I am not pushing for you to go and register on the other side of the aisle. I'm not saying that is what you should do. But what I'm saying is that we need to have a conversation that expands our thought process, that is not just one-sided. Now, I don't agree, and I cringe. No offense to you, brother, I love you. I cringe every single time I drive by the Heritage Foundation and I see it. It's just not a building from its ethos that I get up behind. But this research, as a Black man who is raising a child who was, and for some of you know my story, my wife passed away, was in a loving marriage. I am interested in this work because I also believe the misnomer that Black men are not showing up for their children, are not participating in giving them their food in the morning or in the evening, are not picking them up, because I see them at my daughter's school. I know other brothers who are on this chat who are doing this. So I wanted to make sure we could have other communication, because I promise you, if I didn't say he was from Heritage, the chat would be different this evening. So I am happy to see that we are engaging. I am happy to see our community is still growing and still strong, around 100. I'm going to take one more question, and Delano, stay on.
Sure.
Destin, did you have anything else? Because I'm going to bring in Thomas Pierre, then bring in some of the U.S. Senate candidates if you wanted to jump back in.
Yeah, I'll just make a closing statement. I just think that the Heritage Foundation aspect is a huge part of it, though. And I don't think it can not be highlighted in. And it's almost I'm just curious on how you don't feel like you don't come across as almost like an agent for the GOP and the right in regards to every election cycle, we hear about how black men are starting to trend more right or starting to lose or not vote at all. I think like I think we got like our fingers wagged at by Obama this last election. There was a huge conversation. Yeah, we were the number two, like we always are. But I mean, I just can't really separate the Heritage Foundation aspect because to be honest, if we're being completely honest, that is the biggest organization that's a I don't know what the a titan of literally re- re- regressing what we've built and the progress that we've had for so long. And I feel like a lot of people in the chat are vocalizing that as well. And it almost feels as if it's almost an agent or appeal to our manly duties, but not our our blackness. You know what I mean? Like we would have to kind of leave behind our blackness in order to just stand with them. And I hear you on the family aspect, but the it just doesn't. I think a lot of people had that Rex next. You have just wrestling with that thought process as well. But that's all I wanted to come up and ask though. But I appreciate y'all for giving me a mic though.
No, Dustin, I think a lot of people in the chat are loving. I'm gonna reach out to you directly. A good young brother would love to work with you more in our voter engagement and voter mobilization stuff that we're doing at Women Black Men. I know Robert Apong.
Please reach out.
Okay, I'm gonna reach out to you. We definitely will.
Can I respond to him real quick?
Go ahead. I'm gonna drop you back to the removing your spotlight, Dustin. But we're gonna be in touch. Delano respond, and then Pierre, coming to you next.
Dustin, I appreciated that, and I'll say this, and I'm actually writing a essay right now. I call it the death of Black conservatism. I might call it Black conservatism at a cultural crossroads. But the thesis is this. And let me be critical of go back out. I'm coming. I gave y'all a snap. I'm coming. All they want to do is eat, man. No, go. Thank you. Yeah, my wife not feeling too good. That's why they coming to daddy. But anyway, so within Black conservative circles, the emphasis today is trying to drive cultural change through political engagement. So every 4 years, it's, oh man, we're going to get more Black people to vote conservative, more Black people to vote conservative. And the truth is, Kamala Harris won self-identified Black conservatives by 11 points in 2024. My position is, if you are a political movement that doesn't have true political power and you don't have cultural sway, then something is completely wrong. My preferred version of Black conservatism is to take conservative principles about freedom, faith, family, free markets, and apply them in the places that we care about most. So my conservatism is not getting, 45% of Black men to vote for the next Republican, candidate in the next presidential election. If they choose to, that's fine. Most men tend to be more conservative than the women in their community anyway. What I want to see is that young dude in West Baltimore or East Flatbush or the South Side of Chicago or North Philly saying, you know what? I've been going to church lately. Me and my girl, we got 2 kids together. We've been living together. I'm going to decide today that I'm going to make an honest woman out of her. We all going to have the same last name in this house. We're going to get married. That's what I want to see. So I'm not selling anybody on MAGA. You will not find a single Twitter post with me telling anybody who to vote for, because I realize that the most, if you want to, deem success this way, right? If you're looking at household income, if you're looking at marriage rates, divorce rates, education outcomes, the most successful ethnic group in this country are not white folks. It's Asian Americans. That's a big category, but for the sake of argument, it's Asian Americans. They are the least politically engaged community. So it's not, I'm not selling you on voting for Republicans for the next 60 years and thinking your community is going to turn around. It hasn't worked the other way. So that's not what I'm selling people on. I'm saying I want Black men, particularly Black men who tend to think like me, to embody the values that we say that we believe, and to lead our families, and to stop letting a political party tell us, no, that if you want to be, you know, if you want to be a truly good man, that you'll follow what the women say. That to me inverts the moral order, and it certainly inverts, you know, and causes tension and friction in relationships. And I'm glad Dustin said what he said. He said a few black guys said that they might vote for Trump, and all of a sudden, how dare you? You dishonor your ancestors. You're a sellout. You're a coon. You're a Tom. Because I said that I might do that I might vote in a way that you don't like. So no, people, nobody owns me. Nobody owns your vote. I'm sure Khalil would agree with that. But again, at the end of the day, I'm not selling anybody on a political project. It's not, because I don't believe politicians can't even keep their own house in order. Look how many, you know, Republicans come to Congress and get divorced or end up in some cheating scandals. I'm not telling you to vote for them. I'm telling you to vote for yourself. So a big man can lead to small government. And the opposite is true as well. Big government tends to shrink the role that the man naturally plays in his household and society. So no, I'm not coming out here to sell you on some political project. I'm coming out here to sell you on you. Have faith in yourself. That's what I'm saying.
Brothers, I love the chat that's going on. Delano, stay here. We're going to come right back to you. I'm going to
sure.
pop you back from the spotlight.
Okay.
Go get the kids some food and come back. Look, brothers, I am frustrated, and I see it in the chat. I understand the perspective. I love it. We're going to try to do our best to get more and more of these questions answered as we're going along. But playoffs are going on right now. I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge Commanders fan. So born and raised in DC, DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia area. If I'm thinking about parties, and I'm not switching my party vote right now, like nothing's driving me to vote Republican. Trump doesn't speak to me, doesn't speak to what my daughter needs, doesn't speak to my needs. It doesn't do it for me. So I'm not telling you what Women Black Men is pushing, but what Khalil is pushing is I'm not voting for Trump, plain and simple. But I do have a problem with a party that continues to play a game that uses the same tools and players and loses season after season, and then uses the same tools and players season after season, and then bemoans when things don't change. If we want to talk about change in a party, let's say Democratic Party, I think the postmortem report, what I saw was one organization made $861 million. Now, that was revenue that crossed from one entity over into or multiple entities over in their books on the soft side, IE side. But even if you say that was paid media and they take 10%, how many of you, show of hands, raise your hands, would love $86 million, 10% to be in your bank account? $861 million on the soft side went to one firm last year. Media takes 15. Okay, cool. I was wrong. But I'll even say 10. That's 86 million. They made up of the top 30 firms on the IE soft side. They made up 74% of all of the spend in 2024 that they received. 66% of the top 30 firms made up on the hard side for federal candidates that were running for U.S. Senate, U.S. House, or congressional. I'm just saying, if we're going to continue to give them our money and our treasure and our vote, we need to demand that they listen to us, that they hear us. Okay, I'm going to bring up Thomas Pierre, a dynamic friend, good brother. I got that New York accent. Love you, son. Good to see you. There's that smile. All right, Pierre, what are you talking about tonight, brother?
Well, first of all, thank you, Brother Khalil, for inviting me or allowing me to invite myself. And good evening, everyone. I'm coming in with an angle that some might seem esoteric, but it's not. I first want to say I am Thomas Pierre. I went to Howard University. I came to Washington, D.C., Howard University, with only $34 in my pocket. I had more, but I used it to get on a one-way Greyhound to get to D.C., so I had $34 left. And I went to Howard University, did many things, but one of the greatest things that I did was to organize the Howard University Community Choir. And we just did not perform music, but from that organization, students enhance their leadership, discipline, and everything. We have some judges, lawyers, my dentist and his wife were in the choir. We're all over Washington, D.C., and around the world. And so I started off with that just to let you know that I am a music educator. And I don't only teach music, but I empower young people and adults, because I teach adults as well. I empower them to do great things. Music and the arts play a significant role in shaping one's social, emotional, leadership, all of these things. So I'm coming to you with this, that I'm the first Black president of a music organization called the Middle Atlantic chapter of the American Orff Shuvert. And the American Orff Shuvert Association is a national organization founded in the late 60s, 70s, but it's primarily white music teachers. And I am the first African American president of this organization. And I went through, you talk about racism. I never seen racism or experienced it in my life the way I experienced it these past few years in this organization. It's gotten a little better. And one of the things that I did when I became president is to have a karaoke fundraiser to raise money for teachers to get professional development to impact the lives of students. And the karaoke fundraiser came from my experience at a university, at a Black college, Howard University, having parties to raise funds to do what you needed to do to enhance your education, scholarships. And that went successful. And being a part of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, Mu Lambda chapter, I decided a year ago, not even a year ago, to partner with the Mu Lambda Foundation. And the Mu Lambda Foundation supports, one of the many things that we support is raising money for scholarships for students, high school students. And so I partnered with the Mu Lambda Foundation. So this will be the second event partnership on June the 13th. And I'm coming to most of us here on this call are Black men, but anyone. I'm coming to you no matter where you live in the United States or around the world. You can support and help us. We really need your support. I'm trying to raise tonight money to send teachers for professional development. Last year, we sent 3 Black teachers, first time in history, Black teachers, 3 Black women to receive scholarship. And so will you help us tonight? I'm putting the chat. I don't know, Brother Khalil, if this will work, because it looks like it's just going to the host, but maybe you can take it.
I'm gonna take it. I can jump it over in. But Pierre, real quick. So in your organization, we're seeing in the chat right now, brothers are loving this, and you got a couple of shout outs to HU. There you go. Thank you, Brother Pierre, for sharing. What is one way? How many brothers are supported through this work?
What do you mean by that?
How many Black men? I'm sorry. Let me be more specific. How many Black men, as you're doing this fundraising for this organization, would receive scholarships?
Well, let me tell you, the teachers who apply, on the side of MAC AOSA, but for the Mu Lambda Foundation, you're thinking about all the boys in DC in high school. And it's just not for boys, I believe. It's for young ladies too. But, we have a focus on Black boys. And I do as a teacher, as an educator. Many teachers, they do not know how to teach Black boys. I'm reading a book, Multiplication is for White People. You got to get that book, everyone. And so just the fact that, teachers like me are teaching Black boys. There was a person who received the scholarship the year before last, a Black man who received the scholarship, and now he's going to be the second Black president of my organization. The second Black president of my organization. Can you believe that? So I'm doing work. So when we impact teachers, we impact children. And when we impact Black men, we impact Black boys. Is that right? So I'm hoping that if now I'm not only asking you to purchase a ticket, whether you could come or not, but I'm asking, would you stand with me and buy 5 tickets, or there's a part on Zephy where you can make a donation. You don't have to stop at $100, but those of you who want to make donations of $1,000, you can. But I'm really serious about this, and I went to school because I had a scholarship. I paid for my school, first of all by myself. I took out loans, got that paid for just before Trump, paid that off before Trump got into office. But my choir teacher at Howard University gave me $1,000 scholarship just to sing in the university chorale. And scholarships don't come from trees. People have to give money for scholarships to, be sustained. So will you do that for me? And I thank you again, Brother Khalil. This means a lot to me to have this platform to reach all of these powerful people on this call. So thank you.
I'm gonna help you out, of course, brother. I'm I love you, and you got my back over the time, so I want to make sure I stand with you. You got 2 tickets for me tonight. What we're going to do is, you can stay on. There was a question about what's the percentage and where is the money going. The money is going directly to the scholarships. It goes into the foundation and then goes directly to those who are receiving a scholarship. So you got $40 from me. I want to see if we got 81 brothers on tonight. If you can, if each of us bought 1 ticket, I know that would change the lives of many of those that are doing this work. We have a retired Black administrator in New York. 90% of our students were Black males. However, 80% of the teachers were white. Eddie Radin just purchased 2 tickets. There you go, Eddie. Thank you. Love it. Thomas Pierre, if you can stay with us, in about 20 minutes, we're going to come back to you and keep in the chat for those that are able to purchase a ticket. I love you, Brother Pierre. If you could stop sharing just for a quick sec, we are going to bring up some dynamic candidates and we're going to come back to Thomas in just a second to see what we've got going on. But last week, we had an election. Last Tuesday, we had an election in Alabama. There are not many brothers that are on the ballot running for U.S. Senate around the country right now. But I've been tracking all of them. I'm going to bring up and we're going to talk to one, if you can still hear me. If not, we're going to pop back over to Chris Jones, who is in, there he is. Okay, Everett West. We're going to go over the list so that you all know how we've been tracking this. But I'm going to bring up Everett West. There are 2 brothers in a runoff. We couldn't get to the second one, but we'll have them both on again to have a dynamic conversation. But we are asking any Black man in America right now that is running to make sure we know you. So we're focusing on gubernatorial races, statewide constitutional officers, and we're also focusing on U.S. Senate, U.S. House. We are working our way down to the U.S. The state Senate and the state Assembly or state House in most of all 50 states and 6 territories, and then trying to get to the county and the municipal level as we can. But Alabama just had their election. 2 brothers are running for U.S. Senate. One of them responded to me, texted him about an hour ago. And he was like, yes, I'll be on. Everett, how is it going? What is it like? And then even more importantly, given Calais, how are you feeling in the state of Alabama? I know we just had All Rosy to the south in Montgomery. Tell us what's going on down there.
All right, Khalil, thank you for the opportunity. You froze on me a little bit, but hopefully I understood your question. But I am Everett West, an attorney here in Alabama, and I'm working to be the first Black U.S. Senator from Alabama, and we have a chance. I looked at what was going on in Washington. I looked at the climate that we have in our political arena. I did not like it. I have children, I have grandchildren, and I looked at the slate of candidates that were running, and I signed up 3 days before the end of qualifying because I thought we needed a good, strong African-American candidate on the ticket for the people to choose from. And I think I am that candidate. we can win. So I came in 2 or 3 days before the end of qualifying, ended up in first place in this runoff on Tuesday, and I won 44 counties here in Alabama. And let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm just a little old country boy from Alabama. Attended a school, HBCU, called Selma University down in Selma, Alabama for 2 years. Then I went to Alabama A&M University and finished up a degree in computer science and mathematics. Worked on an MBA a little bit later on at Alabama A&M. I worked in the space and defense industry as a software engineer in Huntsville, Alabama, and worked as a IT consultant and a software engineer up until 1997. And I continued to do that, but I went back to law school and I finished a Juris Doctorate in 2000. So I worked in the software engineering IT arena for about 17 years, and I've been a lawyer for 26 years now. Within this 26 years, I've been a municipal court judge for 8 years, a municipal court prosecutor for 5 years, municipal court public defender for 5 years. So looking at the climate and what's going on in society today with redistricting, and a lot of the Republican legislatures and governors are trying to district out our voice, our vote, by creating majority Republican or majority white districts. And they got a little footage on the Calais decision out of Louisiana just a few weeks ago, and they're using that as much as they can. And now the Alabama legislators have asked the courts to revisit a decision they made 2 years ago on the Milligan case here in Alabama, which created our second congressional district, where we have U.S. Congressman Shamari Figures at this point. So, I want to get out there and help Shamari. I want to help Terry Sewell to maintain her district here in Alabama. And they're two attorneys, and I think at this time, in this climate, I'm the best candidate, being a third attorney who would represent Alabamians on the Democratic ticket in a fair way here in Alabama.
So we got a question for you in the chat. What's your platform? So Cedric Anderson asked, Mr. West, what district are you running in? He is running statewide in Alabama for U.S. Senate. We have thrown his website in the chat. It is West, WESS, for Senate, FOR, Senate.com. The second question we have is, what is your platform and what will you implement if sent to Washington?
Well, I mean, right now, something that's come to the forefront is this redistricting problem that we're having in Alabama. But my platform is safe communities, economic development here in the state of Alabama. We need to stabilize jobs. If you guys remember, when Trump first came into the office, there were a lot of DOGE cuts. If you were not a federal employee for 90 days, you were terminated because you didn't meet that threshold. And he forced a lot of government workers to retire early, or they were going to lose their jobs. So that is not good for the economies in Alabama. Whether you work for the VA, or you are a VA provider working for the government, or whether you're a rocket scientist in Huntsville, Alabama, working, that affected mortgages and rent and food bills and gas bills and utility bills. It affected families in the state of Alabama. So one thing I want to do is stabilize our economy, stabilize our government, and make sure that funds that are allocated for certain areas in Alabama are taken care of. And I want to provide the oversight that the Constitution envisioned in that type of work. Also, I think another pillar of safe communities is education. I told you I attended Selma University and Alabama A&M. I started out with what we call BEOG grant, basic educational opportunity grants, because I was a poor guy from Alabama, or they're also known as Pell Grants. And that helped me in part to get through the first part of college. So I want to stabilize those funds. We know the current administration is doing away as much as they can with the Department of Education, and that's where those funds come from. Congress have created the Department of Education and have allocated funds for Pell Grants, student loans, and I want to get back in and protect those so that young people in today's society will have an opportunity just like I did. Another thing, I did talk about how the VA was affected and government providers because they were laid off. If they had not been a government employee for 90 days, these were nurses and doctors and social workers and people who take care of our veterans, who took care of our country. They took care of us, so we need to make sure that we take care of our veterans through healthcare also. And with that, I have an idea of trying to combine healthcare and federal healthcare. Alabama has a lot of rural areas, and we have some places where you cannot get to a hospital or a doctor within an hour or 2 hours. But, maybe we can provide some standalone healthcare facilities throughout the state of Alabama so that our veterans and our citizens who live in rural Alabama can have the care that they deserve as United States citizens and as Alabamians. So those are just a few of the things that I want to focus on. And I just kind of want to leave it there. And if you have any other questions, I'm ready.
We do. So we're going to do these rapid fires so we can get a couple more in. I know we got Chris Jones, and we're trying to get Charles Booker from Kentucky back on. But brothers are loving this, and family, I love seeing you all engage in this chat with the candidates. That's why we're asking them to join, so that we can give the opportunity for Black men who are running for office a chance to engage with, not just coming on to ask for a donation, but so that you can hear from them why they are running. So Darren Martin, who has asked, okay, sorry, Darren, yours was specific about the political structure. We're going to get back to that. Wayne Shaw, Wes, how will your criminal justice work inform what you plan to implement in the Senate? Congrats on your race so far and good luck. Thank you to your team. I'm going to put this in the chat for everybody. They have given the Facebook that you can go on for West for Senate. You can just drop that in there. So again, how has your criminal justice work informed your plan for what you want to implement in the U.S. Senate, Wes?
As I mentioned earlier, Khalil, I've been a municipal court judge for 5 years, a prosecutor and a public defender. But I've gone to the 11th Circuit and have made constitutional arguments on judicial authority. I have gone to state and federal courts and have made arguments concerning the Fourth Amendment, search and seizure laws, the due process laws, Fifth Amendment, 14th Amendment as they apply to the states. I've done these things, and that's why I think it's very important for Alabamians to look at my candidacy at this point, because when you look at what ICE is doing, that involves Fourth Amendment, search and seizure, due process, and then ICE they're taking brown families and they're pulling parents away from their children, and we just had a speaker to talk about the importance of family and keeping us together, and they're dehumanizing these brown families in the way that they dehumanized us years ago. They dehumanize us so much where they could take their kids, to a hanging or a maiming of a Black person because we were like animals. We really weren't human. Now they're doing this to the brown people. So, we need to stand up for them. They're coming back at our people again by silencing our voice, by creating these new districts. So we need to stand up for ourselves. And so there's that old adage, I didn't stand up for this group and this group and this group, and then all that was left was me, and there was nobody to stand up for me. But we need to stand up for the Hispanic community, for the Black community. Next, they'll come after the women, and there's no telling what they'll come after, who they'll come for after that. So we need to stand up now, and it's very important to make donations to this campaign. And you can find a donate button on my webpage, and we sent that to you, and it's pretty much at the top of the
Other website. Well, it's in there. So Eddie Radin in New Jersey just donated to your campaign. He supports you. You've got Roy Tatum wanted to say 105% of voter turnout in Alabama for this current election just last Tuesday. Amazing how you're doing. Really love it. I know you're in a runoff right now. We're going to get the other brother who's running against you. We're trying to be equitable and fair and make sure every brother gets an opportunity to come on. And so Eddie Radin loves you. I'm just reading his chat. He's right there at the bottom. And then your team wanted to let the audience know that there are 2 white candidates and 2 black candidates, and the 2 black candidates finished top and will be in the runoff, of course, West, that your campaign sees it as the most qualified. So we're excited that you're here. Appreciate you coming on. I'm going to let you go. I know you were on the beginning. You're more than welcome to stay. I'm going to remove the spotlight off of you. If your team has anything more in the chat, I'm going to copy and paste this so this goes to everyone.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Khalil.
No, man, we're going to have you back. So
I look forward to coming back.
We need you back.
One thing I want to end with is, we're in this race. It's a very tough race. I'm the leader of this race. We are African American men. And I think we don't need to tear each other down. We need to be positive. I'm running a positive campaign, one of integrity, one of honesty. Let's do that. We get enough of other individuals tearing our communities and our men and our women down. Let's not do that to each other. And I pledge to you that I'm working to run this campaign with integrity and honesty, and just let the people of Alabama know who I am. And hopefully I can earn your vote on June 16th, which is the primary runoff. Thank you so much, Khalil.
And of course, U.S. Senate candidate, Alabama, Everett West has a runoff on June 16th. Visit his website. We put it there. Also, his Facebook page. His team is in the chat, making sure we're sharing information. Candidate West, thank you. Really appreciate you joining us tonight.
Thank you, sir.
We're going to bring up a good friend of mine who's driving, so hopefully he drives safe or pulls over for this next part. Chris Jones,
I'm hands-free. I'm hands-free.
Arkansas. Chris, what's your district that you're running again?
I'm in District 2, which is Central Arkansas. Little Rock. It covers Little Rock.
Okay. I know you were on before. You had the suit, but you out here doing the work on a holiday weekend. It's your opportunity, sir. I will make sure we get your website over into the chat in just a second, but your opportunity to talk to the brotherhood that you got on and let them know why they should be looking at your race and supporting you.
Good. Appreciate it, Khalil. Appreciate what you do, brother. And appreciate what Women Black Men does. You all showed up consistently, and that matters a lot. So for those who don't know, I'm Chris Jones. You can find out about me at chrisjonesforcongress.com or Jones for AR on social media. I'll give you a little bit of background about who I am, and then I'll tell you about the race. I'm a kid from Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Born and raised there. Always loved science and space. It was great hearing Mr. West because I am a legit rocket scientist. Spent time working at NASA, working at Marshall Space Flight Center there in Huntsville. Also worked at Johnson. My background, Morehouse, physics and math, and then MIT for nuclear engineering, technology and policy, and a PhD in urban planning. But the most important thing is I'm a girl dad, 3 girls, 13 and 9. They are amazing. My wife's a combat vet in the Air Force and an ER doc. But here's the deal. I'm also an ordained minister, so I was busy today. But here's the deal, folks. My race, I just won a couple months ago, my primary. HBCU love for sure. My wife went to Howard, by the way. I won my primary here with 93% of the vote. So we consolidated the Democratic Party. We had high record turnout in our primary. Part of that is due to the chaos that's happening now, but part of it also was due to the fact that I ran for governor and have name ID, and so that helped. We got within 1,000 votes of the Republican who was running, the Republican incumbent. He got 47,000 votes. I got 46,000 votes. So it's a real race. I am super excited about what we're doing. In case folks want to know, my platform is focused on affordability and accountability for all. That's what folks care about. The cost of big things, housing, cars, vacations, retirement. the cost of little things, gas, groceries, you name it. That's a big issue here. We got farmers who are not only losing their farm, but committing suicide. We got black families, brown families, white families who are dealing with incarceration rates that are through the roof. And so folks really want change. And I'll tell you this, I'll end with this really, really good news. Just last week, we did a poll, and it's me against an incumbent, French Hill. He's America's most powerful banker. If you have an overdraft fee that's high, it's his fault. He removed the cap on overdraft fees. So all that stuff he did. And we did a poll, and our poll has we released it just last week, up by 3 points against that incumbent. So it's a real race. And I'm excited, and I'm ready to flip the seat, man. And I know we can do it with our folks.
Well, I'm going to go over the chat and see what folks have for you. Brothers are just wishing you can say, Mario Maxwell saying congratulations. You got Roy Tatum. Brother Jones is navigating that tension. The great to meet in Tucson, Arizona last month. Perfect. Yeah. You got Larry Thompson, no relation, or maybe we are. Wishing you great success as well. I'm going to dump in the memo that Chris is talking about so folks can get a hold of that and be able to use that as if they would like, use it as a conversation or understanding where his race is going on right now. If there's any other questions that you have for Chris, please come up and ask them. If not, I'm gonna let you get back to driving, my dear friend, and kind of take it from there.
Well, let me end with this. Again, if you want to, please follow me on social media, Jones for AR. Check me out on my website, chrisjonesforcongress.com. We're pumped about winning this race, and certainly, I want to say this for last, brother. I am a proud member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, so had to put that in too.
Y'all gonna get me in trouble with everybody on this call tonight. I'm trying my best. I love my frat, don't get me wrong. But I am trying my best to make sure everybody feels welcome at this table this evening. And I know they feel due. And so I know they do.
I said it, not you.
Okay.
Hey, appreciate it. I'm gonna listen in, but go off camera. Love you, bro.
All right, love you too, man. We're gonna get Chris's memo. I sent it to myself, but I want to make sure that gets into the chat in just a second. I appreciate you, Daryl.
Can I say this about the memo?
Yeah.
Feel free to look at it. And if you can confidentially share it with folks internally, but please don't put it on social media or anything like that. And if you do spread it with somebody that I should know about, then feel free to let me know.
So I have a media advisory here. I think that was the one.
Oh, that's perfect. I thought you had the full one. Okay, perfect.
Okay,
media advisory is perfect. Let it fly. Let it fly far and wide. Let it fly far and wide.
Okay. All right. I want to make sure I'm not doing any harm to anyone. Let me go ahead and I'm going to upload Chris's that he just sent over for folks so they can take a look at it. And appreciate those that are still staying with us. All 74 of you. I mean, it's a beautiful thing that tonight, even on a holiday weekend, folks are still here. So we in the chat right now to everybody. You've got the media advisory on Chris Jones. That's in there. Okay. Coming back to our conversation. Good to see John White. Happy to have Omega Psi Phi in the building. So it's okay. I'm not gonna start that. I'm not gonna start that. I promise. Pierre, I'm gonna bring you back up real quick. If you're back, I'm gonna ask you how much did you raise, sir? Hold on, I got you. How come I can't? Let me see if I can spotlight you again. Yep. All right. How much have we raised so far?
Do you want me to say the names?
No. You can just give the number. How many donations? Number of tickets have been bought since we made the ask of everybody.
3. We got about $300.
There you go. So if I'm tracking that, it was 20 a ticket. You did some good work getting folks to really get engaged on here. I'm excited that we've got folks on. Thank you to the 15 people who gave tonight and are making the work that Thomas Pierre is doing, not only with the Mi Lambda Foundation, but other work really successful. Okay, I'm going to come back to you before we close out, Pierre, but I know you were grabbing a quick bite. I wanted to share with everybody in the chat. So if you haven't had a chance, I'm going to share the DNC autopsy. It's right there. You can download it. It's the full document. I appreciate that one of the other brothers early in the evening put in the chat something that we can take a look at. So thank you to everybody who, if you want to download that while you're on. There's a couple other things I'm going to bring up tonight that I want to try to do my best to share with everybody. So forgive me, I'm going to try to use some technology here. But thank you to all of you that are continuing to stay with us in this conversation. Look, I know it was tough earlier. I've gotten some of the text messages from some of you. Why would we let somebody on? I am of the opinion, and I want to have variety of thought to engage. And Delaney, I'll make sure that gets over. So thank you to everybody who's been able to hop on this evening and share not only where their perspective is, but join in the conversation. I got a couple of PDFs that I am going to, if my computer works the way that I need it to, I'm going to open up my computer so you all can see and share my screen in just a second. We've got some things from this report that I think would be really engaging, as well as one of my fellow brothers in this movement, Michael Bland and Terrence Woodbury, did a dynamic polling and research and shared it in a forum on Thursday. I think Tomas and others were on. I want to shout them out. Black Men Vote and Hit Strategies and others did a really good job of talking through a lot of this work. But I think some of the research is apt to what we're talking about this evening. And so I want to make sure you all can see. Chris Mosley, Thomas Pierre just donated $50 to your efforts on Zephy. I'll make sure we bump the link in the chat for everyone again. And thank you to all 74 of you who are still here. All right, so here it goes. You all have the oh, okay. All right. I'm perfect. Okay. Chris is like, drop it in the chat. All right, cool. I'm sorry, but I'm trying to like multitask here, and it may or may not be working as well as I would like. Let me share my screen for those really quick here. I wanted to go to this tab. All right. Can you all see? Perfect. All right. I'm going to drop this. And I wanted you all to see what I've been battling with here. I'm not sure if you all can see it. You should be able to see it on your screens. These are the top 30 payees by party. 74% of the total independent expenditure. And for those of you that are new, independent expenditure means it's on the soft side. Soft meaning as long as you abide by the laws and the rules of your state and or federal law, you can give to a C3 or a C4 in this regard. These are the firms that received funding and or revenue to do some type of work. Okay, I'm gonna see what the chat's saying right now. What we got going on in this chat? Hold on, let me see here. See where the participants are. I'm gonna pop this chat back in. Chat settings. Nope. Okay. Let's see where the chat is. All right. I wanted some more folks to feel the rage that I feel. $861 million at the top, right here. Waterfront Strategies. The orange represents Republican organizations. Bully Pulpit, $85 million. I will give credit. There is an organization on here, SKDK, that is run by dynamic good brother Doug Thornell, is the president. Waterfront, I believe, is run by GMMB out of New York. This is one of their subsidiaries. Okay. Hey, if brothers are feeling something, please go to that chat. I am sharing information. We're going to upload these screenshots in just a second. Now, these are the top 30 Democratic federal candidate committees that we're paying out. Now, there's a couple things that I want to make sure folks are tracking here. Not only Media Buying Analytics LLC making $333 million. I think one of our other brothers tonight pointed out that, yes, this is money that crosses over. But I know if I have a business that takes in and shows on the books $333 million, my access to capital, what my bank gives me in terms of products and other services changes. Even if I only take home in terms of revenue for my company, 33% at a 10% return, given the spend that I'm doing on media buying. That's still amazing for me as an organization. If you're also looking at this sheet, maybe you should be investing in a payroll processing firm. American Express, on fees alone, made $44 million. Gusto, a payroll processing service, made $90 million. Payroll data processing made $30 million. So I'm frustrated. I'm also trying to strategize and think what the next steps are. Okay. Let's do this. We're going to go over to, forgive me, everybody. I'm going to try to share my screen a different way so y'all can see. All right. We are going to go to shifting gears here. Yeah, Deshaun, that's a hefty cut. Can you all still see my screen okay? All right, I think you all can. As I said, Black Men Vote, Mike Blander, Executive Director, and Terrence Woodbury, Hit Strategies, and other partners did some polling. Forgive me the cropping. I was doing screenshots on the phone while they were presenting their data earlier this week. But fewer than 1 in 25 young Black men or Latino men call themselves MAGA. Only Latino men show meaningful conservative ID, and at just 19%. Less than 1% of young men identify as MAGA. Just 3% of young Latino men identify as MAGA. Trump won only 6% of young Black men and 24% of young Latino men. So I know there was a conversation earlier, why give platform? Again, I wanted to have a varying viewpoints and ideals come to this table so that we could have an informed conversation and debate. But I also think it's important to know that only 6% of the population of young Black men are considering or voted for Donald Trump. I'll still take the 80 to 90% that voted on the other side for me. But I think it's important that people are seeing these numbers. All right, let me pull this down here. Boom. Another slide I think is important. Sharp declines with young men of color. And again, we'll share these out. We're going to work with the orgs that did a talkers call earlier this week to make sure you all can dive deeper into some of this data as it's going. I know the chat has died down a little bit, but that's okay. We still got a strong cohort of folks who are on this evening. White voters, in terms of Dems and presidential votes, AAPI, where you're seeing a negative 19 point gap between 18 to 29. And then at 75% as opposed to AAPI at 65, Latino or Latinx at 47. And then the last slide in 2024, 1,222 fewer young men were registered than 500,000 fewer young men voted, showing the disparities in our voter registration programs. I know, Roy, I know y'all taking in that money data, and I'll come back to it. We'll make sure you get it shared. It's in the report. It's in the PDF that's shared in the chat. I will try to see John White if they have data on turnout, but wanted to make sure we could share this. Again, Hit Strategies did this research in partnership with Black Men Vote. Shout out to Mike Bland and others who are doing amazing work in getting this data over to you. You're right, John Thomas. The issue that we're having is we're registering them, but we're not then going back. And so why I think sharing this information is important. And we're going to close out. We've been on closing shortly in just a second. But it's important is because we know that if we don't do a better job figuring out how that we take registering a Black man and then mobilizing them, but also doing it early in the election season, earlier in the electoral cycle, so that we can figure out a way to communicate with them early. So here at Women Black Men, a lot of what we're doing is trying to engage our Unmuted program. We're coming up with some dynamic and unique ideas to meet brothers on the ground, whether that's in cigar bars, barbershops, cookouts, fish fries, whatever it may be. We're looking at very unique ideas. We're not giving up on the South. We're looking at Louisiana, Texas, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, and Florida, North Carolina, and South Carolina. Virginia and Arkansas and Tennessee. I'm going to read off the number of brothers who are running right now that I'm tracking, and all of you should be. But the goal here is to make sure that we're doing an amazing job of doing our work early and often, which requires, and thank you for supporting Thomas Pierre this evening and the great work he's doing on behalf of the Mi Lambda Foundation. We need to make sure that we're doing amazing work continuously. So I need your help. If each of you could go to winwithblackmen.org right now, we are asking each of you to figure out a way that you can contribute something. And I'm going to throw it in the chat to continue the efforts that we're doing on a consistent basis to make sure that we can continue getting this work out, not only hosting these calls, but engaging individuals. $5, $10, $50. If you can make your donation recurring, we'd really appreciate it. But it's the opportunity to continue to have not only the thoughts that we know, but disparate thoughts to spark innovation in our community. So appreciate you all coming on. As I said, and as I promised, don't jump off. Here is where we are for all of the Black men that we are tracking right now, and this list is growing, who are running for office. Scrolling up. We've got in Georgia, we've got a Black woman who is running for governor. And Keisha Lance Bottoms, no runoff. I know we had two dynamic brothers on previously, but Keisha Lance Bottoms won the primary outright. We also have a U.S. Senate race, but we've got Sanford Bishop, a Black man running in the Georgia 2nd Congressional District, along with Hank Johnson, Georgia 4th, and Kelly Esty, who's running in Georgia 8th. We've got a Black woman who's running for state's attorney general and the Secretary of State, but this is going to a runoff in Georgia. So there's races in Georgia nationally and locally that we need, statewide, that we need to pay attention to. In Mississippi, we've got Scott Colomb, who's running for U.S. Senate. In Kentucky, we've got U.S. Senate candidate Charles Booker, who was on earlier. I know he had a family commitment. We were going to try to get him back on. As we've shown, we've got a runoff for the U.S. Senate in Alabama with Everett West. And hold on, I want to make sure I get it right so I don't. Dakari Lariat, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. If I didn't do it disservice, I will make sure I clear it up. In Arkansas, we've got a Black man running for governor, Fred Love, and we've got, as we saw, U.S. congressional candidate running in Chris Jones, who is running in is it the 6th or the 2nd? I'm gonna butcher that.
Second.
Second congressional district in Arkansas, Chris Jones. Chris, I need you to get me in touch with Fred if you can. Louisiana, Louisiana, we've got two Black men who are running for a U.S. Senate runoff. Then we've got Troy Carter in the 2nd congressional district, and we've got Cleo Fields. We're waiting for redistricting, what that's finally going to look like. In Tennessee, we've got Justin Pearson, who announced his race for Congress. We were supporting him. In Texas, we've got, we're still waiting to see what happens in CD18 with Christian Menifee and Al Green. I need to check back on that race. And Freddie Haynes is running in the 30th. I know there are more. Michigan, we've got Garland Gilchrist running for Secretary of State. In Florida, there's been some redistricting changes. We're paying attention to the Florida Congressional District 20. There's a dynamic young brother down there. We know there's someone else who's gotten in that race. I believe Debbie Wasserman Schultz recently entered that race and saying she's going to run. In Pennsylvania, they just had their elections. We've got Lieutenant Governor Austin, and we've got a congressional candidate out of the 3rd, Chris Robb. I don't know Chris, but I know he won his race. We're also tracking all the others who are running. We'll have a list of those in Pennsylvania. Illinois, we've got Secretary of State Kwame Raoul, and we've got a U.S. Senate candidate as a Black woman. In New Jersey, we've got Cory Booker. I know there are others. We're building out that list. North Carolina, we've got Congressional District 1, Donald Davis, CD3, Raymond Smith, and CD6, Sorrell Jefferson. In Idaho, we have a Lieutenant Governor, Eric Merrickx, Black man running. Any name that I'm mentioning is a Black man that is running or a Black woman. In Indiana, in CD7, you have Andre Carson. And I know there is a host of incumbents that are running. We've got Jim Clyburn in South Carolina in the redistricting fight that's happening right now. Thank you, John, for highlighting that. And I appreciate, John, you highlighting some of the amazing dynamic sisters we're really focusing on sisters that are maybe running statewide. I know in Georgia, we've got Amanda Howell, and there's a whole host of others, Nikema Williams, Lucy McBath. In Ohio, we've got Joyce Beatty. I know in North Carolina, you just flagged Jasmine Clark. Sorry, Jasmine Clark. Yes, Veronica, we are looking to, and we need your donations to make sure we can stand up a fully functioning state, national text banking operation and phone banking, not only in Georgia, but everybody else, to make sure we can do the work. Sisters who are joining, I love you. Women Black Women has their Sunday calls as well. Yes, thank you, Roy Tatum, Luther Campbell. Uncle Luke is running in Florida. I'll make sure we get that on the list. The goal that we're trying to do here at Women Black Men is promote all of the Black men. And this is not sowing any dissension, but this community is here to really, really get connected with Black men who are running for statewide and constitutional officers, U.S. Senate and U.S. House. And then we're going to work our way down to state Senate, state House, county, and municipality. We love the sisters that are running, but we are really dynamically focused on supporting the Black men who are running for office right now. So I'm going to put it back in the chat. womenblackmen.org/donate-WWBM. We need you. I need your help in order to continue to do this. Chris, I appreciate it, but I need you to keep your eye on the ball in your race. We need you to support us. Any dollar counts. Any dollar matters. It goes to the work that we are doing every single day. So I really appreciate all the hard work. Thomas and others who were on this evening, the almost 70 to 85 of you who stayed in this conversation, who engaged in the chat. We're going to follow back up with you. Delano, thank you for jumping on. We're going to bring you back on to have conversations with other brothers and have a dynamic back and forth, tete-a-tete. But really appreciate every brother who jumped on tonight. I'll bring back up Thomas Pierre, and I'm going to bring back up Delano, who are still here, just to spotlight you, the two of you. Thank you, Chris. I know you're driving, and others, but just wanted to say thank you. Brothers, have a good evening. Enjoy your Memorial Day. To all of those who fought and gave the ultimate sacrifice, I give you tremendous respect. My grandfather on my mother's side served in the Navy, and I have my best friend since the second day of college. D, you know who you are. Love you, brother. Thank you for all that you do, and every serviceman, men and women who are out there. Just wanted to say thank you, and thank you for your tremendous service and the work that you do. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, everyone. Truly appreciate everybody who jumped on tonight.